Welcome to the Nonsense and the Chaos. I'm your host, Jodie Rose. So I'm recording this podcast in the future. No, past, sorry. It's going to be listened to in the future. I'm recording it in the past because I'm going away to Boomtown for a week, and then I'm going to live in the 16th century for a week, and then I'll be back, and then I've got some really exciting people lined up for when I get back, but I've had to pre-record these so that I didn't miss a week speaking with you, which I didn't want to do. And because I don't think I ordered some microphones to take with me. Hopefully they will turn up in time. I'm hoping they haven't turned up yet, but I will take them with me and I will record while I'm away as well, so you will get the Boomtown lowdown and the 16th century interviews. I'm so looking forward to interviewing people at Kentwell again because they're all so fascinating. So that will happen, but in the meantime I will upload these, and then I know that these are in place and I can do it in a relaxed manner rather than trying to figure out how to upload and put in the podcast from the 16th century. I did do it last year, so I know it's possible, but it wasn't easy and it just takes you out the moment a little bit. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I'm on the pilgrimage, but it's the weeks that I'm on the pilgrimage, because I would like to, I think if I have a break for creation hibernation in January, February, that works, but then how do I carry on doing the podcast while I'm away on pilgrimage? It's a bit tricky, so maybe I'll have to have a break then as well. It's not ideal, but sometimes these things have to happen. And part of what also has to happen is I'll be away, and it means I'm not in the government meetings. And we just had a discussion about that because someone was questioning whether that's allowed, because we did have a thing passed where if you miss more than three meetings sort of unauthorised, that you can be taken out of the committee. And someone was flagging that up with me being away, but as I said at the time of us making that rule and before I joined Chief Police, that these are my work. Like, the dates that I'm away are for things that I go and do for work, and I was doing them before I joined Chief Police. So when I was asked to join it, I explained clearly that I already had these commitments, and those commitments will always be there. And I know what they are, and I can give the dates every year. And so it's just it's because someone's new and they were questioning it, and it's fair enough. But at the same time, it's like, I've always done this. This is what I do, and I can't do Chief Police if this isn't possible for me to do it. I had an interesting meeting today with Chief Police, because when this podcast comes out, it will be just after the Aquarius full moon, and I think that's a very interesting moon. I think it's going to be extremely interesting, and I'm not here recording it at the time of it, but I reckon some big stuff's going to happen, because Pluto is in Aquarius at the moment, and Pluto is the game changer. It's like the furthest out of the planets. One could argue that it's not a planet, which I fully appreciate, although I like it being a planet. I'm sticking with it being a planet personally, but it's the slowest moving, furthest out planet in the astrology, whatever the word is, system, and it's the planet of life-changing Earth societal movements, like the big changing movements. So, and Aquarius is the sign of entrepreneurship, innovation, like mad ideas, communication, crazy, like out there thinking. Like, it's the most out there of the star signs, but not in a like wacky way, sort of Elon Musk. I don't know what his star sign is, but I would assume that he would have a lot of Aquarius in his chart, just the out there thinking, thinking way beyond the limitations of the everyday world. And and I obviously I've got a lot of issues with him, but I can appreciate that about him, that he does think wide. I'm a wide thinker as well, and it just, like, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, there were lots of revolutions and things. So I just think it's interesting, because I've said this now in a couple of podcasts, that I've always given the sort of proviso of my astrology following that I don't particularly believe in it. I just follow it and it's useful prompts, and I find it an interesting model to follow to examine my inner world, and also the reflections of the seasons, and just being more, I don't know, paying more attention to the outer world really as well, because it made me be able to be an astronomer or an astro guide at the observatory. That was off the back of me learning astrology, which has only been since 2020. So before 2020, I was absolutely adamant that it was all nonsense, and was really anti it. I was a staunch cynic, and then critic, and then I don't know, something happened in 2020 where I just was like, do you know what, this all feels like it's harder work denying it than it is to let it in. And I already knew quite a bit about it just because it's very prevalent in the Tudor world, and obviously having lived as a Tudor for 36 years, I was like, it was part of my reality to some extent in that way. And that was kind of part of the reason why I was interested, because it was like, well, actually I don't understand this system that I'm sort of meant to, or that really I should know about, because it should be part of my reality as a Tudor. So, you know, in terms of my character and my Tudor reality, I should know about it. But also just as a person, like as a writer, as an artist, you know, this is my part of the mythology. I know about Christian mythology. I would call that mythology because I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in any religious prescribed God, but I am a theist in that I believe in the kernel of truth and divine beauty at the core of each religion. But I don't believe in any religion. Probably Buddhism's the closest to something I believe. But actually, when you look at Buddhism properly, it's a whole religious thing that I don't believe in. I just very much agree with the philosophies. I feel like they've hit the nail on the head there. But, you know, all roads lead to the same city and all that. I wouldn't say I don't believe in God, but I also think that what we call God, or what I call God, which I call universe, what I call the universe, could be a computer game, could be a simulation, could be a dream, could be a bubble in a glass of soda. Like I don't know what that thing is, but that thing is what I call everything, and that everything seems to have a thing going on, like it's a computer game or whatever. It's a thing, and within that thing we're all one, and that it's all connected. And within that are all the stories and the myths and the legends and the metaphors, and that's woven our reality together. And so I think all of it's important to know about. I'm interested in all of it. I'm interested in flat earthers. I'm interested in every type of religion. I'm interested in serial killers. I'm interested in, I feel like I'm starting to sound like Bjork. There's a really funny meme of Bjork going, I don't know what she was like, I like estate agents. I like critics. I like candy floss. She's so funny. I love her. If I could meet anyone, it would be Bjork. I love Bjork. She's such a ledge. But yeah, I feel like everything's in our reality. So there's something, just out of curiosity, I'm interested in all of it. But also with what I was getting round to saying is, having now followed astrology, it does blow my mind. And it is probably, I'm happy to go with the scientific explanation that we're pattern finding creatures. So we'll find the meaning in things. We're meaning making machines, and we'll find the meaning in things. But I do find that each dark and full moon, the sign that the moon is in seems to be coming up in the things that are happening in reality. You know, my friend Sophia died with the Scorpio full moon and dark moon. No, full moon, yeah, Scorpio full moon. She died of the Scorpio full moon, as did loads of other people die then. And so we had a very beautiful grief sharing ceremony for that full moon ceremony. And it's the same with, I don't know, it just seems to be every moon, it feels like it's relevant, the things that are coming up. And I just find that really interesting. Like the Leo dark moon that we just had was amazing. And that was very much about being in your power and being in your sovereignty. And that felt like that was coming up in everything that was happening around me. And us sitting in our sovereignty and being powerful and strong and taking ownership of reality and what's going on in the world. And yeah, I just feel like this Aquarius full moon, with everything that's going on at the moment, things feel volatile. I think things. I spoke to my friend yesterday who's in the Metropolitan Police. So she grew up here and she now lives in London and is in the Met Police. And I was like, how's it going over there? How's it going over on the big rock? And she said, I think there's going to be a really big riot soon. She said there's two groups of people that think very differently, and I think there's going to be a huge riot soon. And I said, yeah, it's kind of what I was angling at. I'm picking up on that as well. I think you might be right. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I'm just hedging my bets here. Obviously, I'm in the past, so I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But if I was going to put my money on a time where that might kick off, then the Aquarius full moon is kind of got my money on it. So I've just been in a government meeting today talking about tax, which is very interesting because it just brought up so much stuff about, first I'd say overwhelmingly, money is so personal. I'm finding money so interesting. I think I'm enjoying it now. I'm enjoying this conversation, this journey, this exploration into money. Listening to these amazing books, I think I've told you already, Money by David McWilliams, and then Material World is brilliant. Material World is so good. They both are. They're both really good. Just in terms of thinking about the world differently, I find it fascinating. I love thinking about the world differently because it's like I loved disability arts, like the disabled arts. There was a huge increase in funding for disability arts after the Paralympics in the UK because there was that amazing opening ceremony and there were lots of incredible disabled artists that were part of that opening ceremony. And off the back of that, they created this initiative called Unlimited, where you got funding, disabled artists were able to get funding to create work. And there was a lot of support and mentoring, and it was brilliant. And the work that came out was just absolutely mind-blowing because you saw things from a completely different perspective. You know, from the thing I love about art is when you are surprised by the way that someone looks at the world completely differently. You know, like the Impressionists, when they suddenly stopped painting things realistically and painted them in this completely, and abstract as well, abstractists, I don't know what they're called, abstractionists, abstract art and impressionist art, where it just suddenly looks at the world differently and through this different lens, and how shocking and confronting and mind melting that would have all been at the time. And then how we felt with, I think, Deep Dream when that came out, and then seeing AI and what that does, and us seeing the world from this different perspective, and just looking at the world through the perspective of a disabled person was so exciting, because most things in the arts you've seen already now. You've seen and done and been there, and to suddenly be looking at the world from, you know, there was an amazing photo series of a woman going deep sea diving, all these diving photos, but she's in her wheelchair and she went deep sea diving with her wheelchair. And these images were just so cool. There's the person in their wheelchair diving in the sea. Just, yeah, really cool images. And then my friend Jess Tom, who created a charity called Tourette's Hero, where they celebrated Tourette syndrome as a superpower, a random word generating superpower. And she wore a superhero outfit and would go around and connect with and work with just helping young people find their power in their Tourette's, you know, and it not just be something that's something they're having to live with, that they're a sufferer, like that it's not something you're suffering. It's actually a unique, incredible, different way of living and being, and it's that the world needs to change and accommodate, not you, which is absolutely totally true and valid, and that's how I feel about everything. It's like you don't choose to be born, and however we're born is absolutely perfect. We're perfect, whole and complete. Every single one of us is perfect, whole and complete, and if the world is in any way saying you're not, that's the world's problem, not yours. And so the world needs to be changed to work so that you are held, supported, looked after, given your basic needs are met. the way things are designed to support you and help you, that you can get around in a wheelchair, or you can go to live events even if you've got Tourette syndrome, and that people are educated and trained to understand and meet your needs as someone with Tourette's, rather than ushering you out or shushing you or whatever. All of that I absolutely love. I find it so interesting. And I just think this Aquarius energy is going to be making us see the world differently and look at things in a completely different way. And looking at tax and money and the material world through these books has just been so interesting, and like lifting the veil. And it was interesting also interviewing Ray and him talking about the truth behind the language we use, that we're veiling. There's all these hidden realities that are more real than the reality we think we live in. And that's what this material world book is about. There's the actual reality and the companies and the materials that we've not heard of that actually make the world go round. And if any of them cease to exist, then we would be absolutely scuppered. And that, it's just mad. And we're not thinking about it, and we're not talking about it, and we're not aware of it, and it's not measured in our country's GDP. And then talking about money and tax today, it's so emotional is the first thing. And that also, people are so out of touch or deluded, I think is the word, deluded. Oh God, there was some things said this evening that were shocking. Yeah, that revealed so much about how people with money view people without money. In a nutshell, what the sweeping statement that was just used is that the amount that these people are paying on tax, they would spend in a bar of an evening. For a start, 500 quid? I don't know anyone other than wealthy people who spend 500 quid in a bar in an evening. And also £500 might not seem like much to them, although they got upset when I said that. They were like, it does seem like... I'm like, well, I'm sure it does seem like a lot to you, because you're balking over paying a couple of grand tax. But £500 to someone who earns £12 an hour, who can't put money aside each week to pay for the tax at the end of the year because they haven't got enough money to do that, and so at the end of the year have to, after Christmas, suddenly find £500. And in the UK, if you earn under 12.5 grand, you don't pay tax, but you don't technically have to pay your national insurance, and if it's under 6.5 grand, but you just pay your national insurance. That's £179. We're paying over double here in Sark, and we don't get national health care, and we don't get the benefit system, and we don't get a state pension. So we're paying double the amount of tax. If you're if you're a low earner, earning under like 20 grand a year, you're not paying tax in the UK. So you're paying your national insurance contributions, and then you get all those benefits. But here you're paying twice as much money, and you're not getting any of those benefits. So it's not a tax haven for low earners. But if you could be a millionaire, you could be a multi-millionaire, and your partner pays the roof tax, and then therefore you are able to pay the minimum tax because you haven't declared your assets, and you're paying 500. It's like 500. I can't remember. It's £79 or something like that. So you've got people who are multimillionaires paying the same as people on £12 an hour, and they're doing very well out of it. And yeah, they're then saying, well, £500 is a lot of money. No shit. But it's not the same kind of lot of money to you as it is to me, my darling. Just shocking. It was just suggested that was spent in a bar of an evening, and then it was also suggested that like £500 is nothing, and that they can easily pay that. And I was just like, mate, you really don't know what you're talking about. And there are so many diversions that are being made by people to go, God, the amount of stuff that's been happening recently, it's mad. Like, I met someone recently who is best mates with Nigel Farage, apparently, and showed me his Reform membership card, and said that he might be like Nigel's trying to encourage him to stand. And I just had a conversation with him about, immigration. And I was like, well, but because his point was, because anyone can turn up to England and just get free healthcare, like anyone. And I was like, yeah, isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing? I feel like, oh God, it'd be so good if we had that here. Like, I really miss having the NHS. I cannot stress enough how lucky people in England are to have the NHS. It is unbelievable that we get cared for free. It's amazing. And I can kind of see from having been on the medical committee here in Sark and being aware of how expensive medicine is and how crazy the numbers are. I mean, the numbers are basically bankruptcy for the number of people that live in the UK. We can't afford it. We can't really afford it. But I also don't ever want it to go. But yeah, we can't afford it on the scale that we're at in Sark. So I don't know how they're managing. Yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, I can appreciate that. I can actually appreciate from that perspective that it's a huge amount of money that we're talking about. But what I was saying to him is, isn't it amazing that we have that in the UK? And wouldn't it be great if we had that everywhere? Shouldn't it be that we should be, rather than like trying to stop some people using the free healthcare in our country, we should be trying to encourage everywhere in the world to have free healthcare. That should just be, it's a basic human need. And part of the reason why it costs so much money everywhere is because the pharmaceutical companies are making it cost so much money. It's not necessarily actually the cost price of making said things. They will just get completely plumped up, and it's outrageous. There's many films and documentaries and things made about that you can go back and look at. And then I said to him, and the people that come over are either from war-torn places where we've normally had some hand in why that country's been at war, often because they've got resources that we want. And while we're there doing that, and we're interfering with their politics and their land and their governance, and we're land grabbing and resource grabbing as we go, we're always saying to them, oh, we love you over in England. We love you. No, we're the good guys. Yeah, we're so on your side. We're totally on your side. Yeah, no, we love you. We love you. And so they think that we are their friends and that we're a safe place to flee to when they need to. And so it's perfectly reasonable that they come heading towards us because we have literally been telling them that we're on their side. So that's one group of immigrants. And then another group of immigrants are people fleeing from the equator, which is spreading. The width of uninhabitable land is spreading because of us in the West creating global warming and using all the resources, which means that we're making the world hotter, which means that the land for people to be able to live on and farm and be sustained. No one ever wants to leave their home. No one wants to leave their home. If people are leaving their home, it's because it's that bad. Think how much it would take for you to go, right, unless, you don't really like where you live and you would rather go live in south of France or whatever. If you're happy where you live and you have the means to be able to live elsewhere, imagine what it would take for you to be able to what it would take for you to give everything up, to grab a handful of belongings and leave your house. I mean, I was thinking it today, and also like listening today to this podcast about the occupation in France and how all the Parisians had to flee Paris. And this is in living history. This is the Second World War. Parisians had to flee Paris and head south. And they had to literally just grab what they could. 90,000 children went missing because they were just being handed to like cars going by just saying, please take them, save them, get them away from here. And they all went missing. The Red Cross had to try and like put them back with their families. And 90,000 children disappeared and went missing during that time. And just what it would take, that's Parisians. So there's like a load of people hanging out in Paris right now, suddenly having to flee south in France. So it's in their own country, but everything ran out. Like people couldn't put anyone else up. Food had run out. Some more and more people were having to go south because things had run out further north. And that's really recent. And it's the inhumanity of it, that when people are in need, and people are in need because we've put them in that position, it's 99% of immigration is going to be from colonialism, from war and resource grabbing, or from environmental like collapse, and we're to blame for all of that. And then he went, yeah, but what about the Albanians? And I was like, yeah, but everyone really likes cocaine. If they weren't selling cocaine, then they wouldn't be a problem. But the only reason why it's working is because everyone's buying the cocaine. And he did actually laugh at that. And it is funny because it's like I'm having these conversations with people that I would never meet. Like none of these conversations would have happened to me in Brighton because we just would have all been on the same page, talking about the same thing, supporting each other. This is a completely mad reality that I'm now living in, where I'm sitting with and talking to people with 3 houses in 3 jurisdictions, paying 3 tax bills and hoo-haing about having to pay some tax here, saying, oh, like using the words, I think it was something like, where's the humanity, or is there no, what was that? Mercy. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I've just explained how we're paying more tax here than I did. I'm paying more tax here than I did in the UK. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm not saying reduce my tax bill. I'm just saying you can't keep putting the tax up for everyone, because this is already completely ridiculous for the low earners. It's already completely grossly unfair for low earners. And people will just leave. Like, I mean, I'm very aware of the cost that, like, for me, I'm feeling that it outweighs by living here, because I'm away from all the madness of what's going on, which is, I'd say, probably after Dizzle. Like, Dizzle's the leading. If I wasn't with Diz, then there have been moments where I almost certainly would have left here by now. I'm glad that didn't happen, because I've learned so much through going through those sticky periods, and I've learned so much about myself. And yeah, I'm glad I've gone through those sticky periods, and I'm glad that I was in a position where I was in love with someone who wasn't going to come with me. He's never leaving her. And so forced me to work through those situations and deal with them. And yeah, like I've said before, wearing big girl pants is part of my everyday life here now. But I like that. I like that I've learned to do that. And I like how much it's made me face things like this conversation I'm having now. This is a bit scary. It's a bit sticking my neck on the line. It's a bit whatever, but it's like, it's got to be done. Like, we've got to start having these conversations because they need to be had. The problem is people are people. I like people. And that's one of the things that I really love about here, is that I keep learning how normal everybody is. Everyone is just everybody. There's nothing special about rich people. They're not different. They're just normal everyday people who do silly things, who say silly things. Some of them are smart. I mean, they're quite often quite smart because they've had good education, but they're not that. It's not like, oh my God, you're all just geniuses, or you have some divine something or other. You're just normal everyday people. You've had a good education and you feel like you deserve what you've got because you've been brought up to believe that, you've got that privilege. And so you feel like you... my friend was sleeping with someone once where he'd gone to Eton, and he was like, yeah, I was thought of going for PM, but then I decided to become a film director. And she went, PM? And he was like, yeah, And she's like, what do you mean PM? And he went, oh, Prime Minister. It's like, oh, she's like, I was thinking of going for Prime Minister or becoming a film director. It's like, yeah, that's not something that neither of those options are something that I just thought about when I was at Ali Hunter High School in fucking Essex. It's just a completely different upbringing and reality, and it's just a lottery, and people are just normal people. And I like that. I like that we are all the same and we are all normal, and I love that. And I love that I knew that, like I'm sure you'll be listening to that going, yeah, I do know that. But how many really rich people, but like millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, royal family, have you actually hung out with? Because until I moved here, my answer was pretty zero. I might have slightly brushed past some pretty wealthy people, but not like the levels that I'm. And not only am I like living in Sark, it's like a giant shared house. So it's not just like you're seeing them in a pub, or you met them at someone's wedding or something like that. I literally watch them stumbling home drunk, or I see them eating, or I experience how they treat staff who I know. Like, we all talk about, how we get treated or what people are like. People went through a pandemic together, so we've seen, and we're teaching their children and blah, blah, blah. So, it's more like we're in a shared house and it's a big family. So the exposure is really different. It's a really like behind the scenes, curlers in, dressing gown on kind of vibe rather than sort of out somewhere fancy or at an event kind of thing, which is where it possibly would have met people in the past. But yeah, the thing that everything keeps coming back for me is that privilege and wealth is the issue. Like the only enemy in this world is the divide, the financial divide, and the absolute blindness that privilege unfortunately gives you, which means that you don't see the rumblings of the discontent. But they are really good at distracting the discontent by making the discontented point at each other. And that's what immigration is all about. That's what all of this fascism rise is all about, is people being screwed over by a group of people, and the group of people who are doing the screwing over going, no, it's the guy next to you. And it's like literally the oldest trick in the book. Yeah. And the thing is, what I can also tell you from being in and amongst these people is that they're not happy. It doesn't bring you happiness. This graspy kleptomania hoarding is not a healthy state of being to be in. It's not happy. No, I haven't met a single wealthy person yet where I'm like, oh, that's the dream. Like they're all getting surgery. They're not happy with how they look. They're doing weird backstabby things. They've like blackmailing each other. They've got dirt on each other. They're angry. It's just like, it's just not, you're not happy. Like I'm not watching anyone going, God, look at all the incredible things they're doing. Look at all the incredible things they're doing with their lives. And they're just so at peace. And yeah, the people I know who are like that are not any of these wealthy people. So that's my, I just feel like this Aquarius full moon, something's going to happen. And I'm just ready for it. Yeah, I'm very excited about what's going to happen at Boomtown and what will come out of this exciting plan that we have, which I talked about in my last solo podcast. So go back and listen to that and hear what we're up to. But yeah, it feels like it's all going to spill out, and that's all going to be happening over the Aquarius full moon, which is just perfect. So let's flipping change things up. And I never am meaning this in a violent way. Violent revolutions don't tend to work out well. Yeah. It's more of a revolution of the mind and the heart, and just having conversations about what's going on. I think we need to stop being scared. I mean, I am scared, definitely scared. I'll put my hands up and say I'm scared, but it's just a ride, eh? It's just a ride, as Bill Hicks says. I'm going to pull a rune. If you enjoy this podcast, then please consider supporting me on Patreon, which is patreon.com/Jolie Rose. I still haven't set up a crowdfunder for the pilgrimage. If I do that, I'll be doing it when I get back. I probably do need to do it for the start of August, which at the time of recording this is literally in a day or two's time. I've got a lot of things to do before I go away. I'll see. I'll have to have a think about it. But yes, the best way to support me would be supporting me through Patreon, because that's just a solid, I'm supporting you, whatever you do. I'm just here to support you as an artist. It's a thank you for the podcast. It's a thank you for the moon ceremonies. It's a, go do the pilgrimage. Yeah, go do Boomtown. Yeah, go do these things. And I'm just going to help you out as much as I can. There's 2 tiers. It's £3 a month for the just pat on the back, which I really appreciate. And £9 a month to see the videos, so you can watch who I'm chatting with and see the interviews take place, which is always fun. And everything else I put out for free. I do the articles and the ceremonies and the readings and things that I do online for free, so everyone can have them and get to experience them. And if you can't afford to support me on Patreon, then you just enjoy them for free, which is it's there for you. So I hope you're enjoying it. But also really great if you could tell people about it and post about it and share like whatever aspects it is that you like, share the moon ceremonies, share the podcast, whatever it is that you're consuming and you enjoy. If you're up for it and you like this podcast, then please vote for it in the Listener's Choice Awards, in the British Podcast Awards. So yeah, go over to the British Podcast Awards. You literally type in Nonsense in the Chaos in the Listener's Choice section and it will come up and you vote for it. And then you just say, reply to the confirmation email, and then that will go through. And it would be great if you did do that. I would really appreciate it. That would be amazing. So that's something you can do. And yeah, otherwise just enjoy. I will currently, when this podcast comes out, I will be at Kentwell Hall. I will have been at Boomtown already. I'll soon be coming back, and then I'll be going on the pilgrimages. I keep saying that, the pilgrimage across the UK, which will be for the whole of September and October. And if you would like to find out where we'll be and are interested in hosting a performance of George and the Dragon, Mama's Play, or maybe coming and walking for a day or two, or just generally following what we're doing, then you can follow it at Kriya Arts at Instagram and Facebook. So that's KRIYAARTS. And then, yeah, if you go on to either of them, it's got the dates on there as a post, and just see where we are and see if we might be passing your neck of the woods. But yeah, otherwise, on with the show. Interesting. Be strong, Uraz. This rune, I might well have talked about this before. I think I have pulled this one before. It's the rune that meant the least to me for years until 2023. Because in 2023, this was the last rune that I pulled for the last pilgrimage. And it seemed weird that this was the culmination of that 4 years of walking, because they were big, 4 500-mile walks across the length and breadth of the UK in each of the directions. And to end it with this rune, be strong, strength, was like, oh. And then when I actually finished that walk, I was so strong. And it wasn't just physical, it was an inner strength. I felt like Wonder Woman. I felt like a tree trunk. I was balanced, my masculine and feminine and all my aspects felt balanced. I felt one. I felt at peace with death. I felt calm and agile and fit, and my body was all pain-free and at ease, and I just felt so strong. And I came away from that being like, that's what strength feels like. That's what real strength is where you're just in your power, like 100% in your power. And yeah, I felt like a superhero, and it was amazing. And that is what the Leo dark moon that we just were in was about, finding and sitting in, is your sovereignty. Sitting in your sovereignty and really feeling how powerful and strong you are. And I think that is key at the moment. We need to tune into our strength, because the world is definitely trying to train you to feel scared. And it is all made up. And that's what I keep coming back to. All of these realities that we dip into and look into that I find fascinating and that I've enjoyed exploring. And then these things like this book, The Material World, where there's the reality of the materials that we need to mine in order to make all the things that we make, but we don't include them in the country's accounting. We're not adding into that the raw materials plus the damage that's being done, or the cost that's being done to the land, or any of these things. We're not dealing with the actual cold hard truth of the reality of what we're doing. And if we do, if it's in one country, we'll be like, oh, we no longer do this, but that's because it's all happening in another country. So yeah, in this, like steel works are no longer in the UK, but they're somewhere else. We're still using steel. We just haven't got all that pollution and horrible working conditions in our country, but they're elsewhere. And like the material world, because we're going more and more digital and we're going more like electric car, it's all meant to be better for the environment. But actually our material use has gone up in terms of the raw materials, because everything's having to be, like, all the infrastructure is having to be rebuilt and created from scratch because we're now using new technology. So in theory that should level out at some point, but at the moment there's been a huge rise. And yeah, just the numbers he's giving in this book, I do make you feel pretty hopeless, and it is scary. It's all very scary. And so we do need to be strong. We need to be so strong. You need to, I personally like to know the truth about things. And when I say the truth, I know truth is a slippery fish, but I'm interested in lifting veils. And I suppose I'm not saying that there's any absolute truth, because you keep lifting the veil. You can lift, there could be a critique book on the book that I'm reading that's like, yeah, well, he looks at it from this perspective because he's a white middle class male, and because he looks at it from this perspective, he didn't take into account this and this. And there could be a really good critique on it by someone else from a different perspective, and I'll be like, oh yeah, no, oh wow, yeah. And it's not that you're right, you are right, everyone's right, but he was right. It's just that each veil makes you see things differently. Checking yourself, like, you need to keep checking yourself with that. We're all privileged. We've all got a level of privilege that we can't see. I'm a white person, like, I have the privilege of that. I've got a roof over my head. I can eat. I am comfortable in that sense. There's the privilege of having those things. I've got freedom. I've got a passport. So many people do not have any of those freedoms. So many people do not have any of those freedoms. And it's quite shocking, yeah, just to see where you are in the pyramid and to realise that you're actually quite high up that pyramid. But we need to be strong to feel like, in the face of all of this, that we can make a difference, and that we do have sovereignty, and we have rights, and we are free, and that this is all made up, and we do not have to go along with any of it. Obviously, when you've got a gun in your face and you're being taken into a law court and you're being forced into a prison cell, it's hard to keep hold of that belief. But at the same time, sometimes that has to be done. Sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to do that. And sometimes you might be the one that has to get tortured and murdered to be one of the ones that fought against the thing that eventually does change. And that might be what you have to do. And are you going to be one of the resistance? Are you going to be one of the people that fights the fight? Or are you going to be one of the people that, to be fair, whatever, you do whatever you do. You do you. Do whatever you do. I'm not even saying there's any truth in any of that. Everyone plays their part. Everyone does their thing. The storyline dips and weaves, twists and turns. Sometimes it's winter and dark, and sometimes it's summer and light, and all the shades in between. And, it's all just a bunch of stuff that happens, and one day we'll all be rubble because the whole world will blow up. So, it's literally just a bunch of stuff that's happening. So you pick your own adventure, you make your own choices, you do you. But be strong. Be strong in yourself. Just be you. Do it your way. Do whatever you're going to do. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm sharing my thoughts and my process and sharing what's going on as I stumble my way through this thing called life. But I'm not saying that there's any right or wrong thing. You just got to follow your own compass. But I'm just saying, if your compass is saying this is wrong, then just be brave. And don't let yourself be tricked into thinking that you're hopeless, because you're not. We can do anything. And we could have anything, and we can live this life any way we want. And it doesn't have to follow rules that were made by someone else that suits them. They can be made any way you want them to be made, and anything is possible, and you can imagine anything, and it can be dreamt into being. So yeah, just be brave, be strong, be determined, and feel your sovereignty. We're all sovereign. We're all children of this land. We're all miracles, and we're all perfect, whole and complete. Don't you forget it. So now for the Chaos Crusade. This week's Chaos Crusade is inspired by the Baz Luhrmann song Where's Sunscreen, which I think I mentioned recently in a podcast. But it's the song that was a Bible to me. Throughout my life, it's been a Bible to me. That and the Sandman comics are, I would say, my Bible. If you're going to say what's the Bible of your personal religion, it's the Sunscreen song, and the Sunscreen song's my 10 Commandments, and the Sandman comics graphic novel series is my Bible, like the bulky bit of the Bible. And in the sunscreen song, it says, do one thing every day that scares you. And I do all the time do that. And when I am scared of doing something, I remember that saying. There's two, actually. Another, it's less of a Bible, but it's my favourite book that I've read the most times. And that's My Family and Other Animals. And I love Gerald Durrell, and I love that I'm kind of in Gerald Durrell's world a little bit here in the Channel Islands. His zoo is over in Jersey. He's a known person around here, whereas like in the UK I could talk about him and people wouldn't know who I was talking about. They didn't necessarily know who he was unless you were my age, because there was a TV series that I loved when that came out. But I just love that book. It's such a brilliant book. I'm going to give it another read again soon because it's just beautiful. And in it, his sister is Margot, and she gets sayings wrong. And one of her sayings, which is in my 10 Commandments, even though it's not in the sunscreen song, it's from My Family and Other Animals instead. But it's change is as good as a feast. And it's meant to be change is as good as a rest. But I didn't know that till I was I was probably in my 30s when I found out that that's what it was meant to be. But I also just thought that didn't make sense, because a change is as good as a rest. It's like change is really not restful. You know, like if you've got to go and if you've got to leave your home and go be like a refugee, like that's not restful. I don't know, my life completely changed in 2020. Nothing was restful about that. You know, I walked 500 miles, packed up my flat, left my ex-husband, came here, had to meet people and get to know people by going out and socialising, and unpack my house and find things to put in my house. Like nothing about that was a rest. I don't find it restful, change. I find it extremely nourishing though, and delicious, and just yummy and scrummy, like a feast. So I think it makes much more sense that a change is good as a feast. But yeah, when I don't know what to do and I'm in a situation where I'm like, shit, first of all, I'm like, a change is as good as a feast. So if the choices are like this or this, I will go with the one that's the biggest change. Also, to always remember there's the third way, that betwixt the two. And the third way is often the right way. So if you're ever like this or this, stop and think about what's the third way. That's another thing to do. But yeah, doing something that scares you, it's just a good thing to do. So like I was scared of heights, but then I started doing co-steering and I loved it. I sang at the Old Island Hall last week on the open mic night, and I am terrified of singing in public, and I'm a really dreadful singer, but I rewrote the words to Park Life with Sark Life, and it was very funny, if I do say so myself. And I sang that, and everyone joined in, because everyone was like, hey, Park Life, Sark Life. Everyone joined in with it, and that was fun. And I overcame my fear, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow night on Wednesday. And it's just a fun thing to do, is challenge yourself. And the more you do it, the more you realise that the ground didn't swallow you up, that you survived, that you're still here, and you live to tell another tale, live another day. It's okay. And it's one of the things that I learned from doing Fooling. I did so many embarrassing and humiliating performances in Fooling, and I'm still here, and everything's fine, and I'm still an artist, and I'm still performing on the stage. It's cool. No one freaking cares. Like, they really don't. And yeah, so just do one thing every day that scares you. Get yourself out of your comfort zone. Go do something. Go do a theatre workshop. Go do a singing course. Go put yourself out there and do something that scares you. Go do a paragliding course. Like, whatever it is. Do something scary. Ask that person out. Whatever. Leave that person. Just do it. So that's my Chaos Crusade for this week. So that's everything. That's my thoughts and musings. I'll be interested to see what happens over the next couple of weeks with this Aquarius full moon. So yeah, let's see. I shall see you on the other side. And until then, see you the end on.